In 1988, Metallica released the album Injustice for All, and my friend Patrick and I are going to talk about it on this episode of Records with Ray. $1998.
88. I think it's August 88, I think is when it came out, I believe.
In August 1988, Injustice for All came out.
Somewhere around that time.
Yeah, that sounds about right. I'll never forget because I graduated high school. That was my senior year in high school, 88, 89. And in July of 1989 is when I saw Metallica for the first time. It was my first concert ever, supporting the Injustice for All tour. And I was so jazzed for it. I mean, it was like seeing James Hetfield in front of me. You know, it was like seeing God. It was incredible. I remember they opened up with Creeping Death. And it just went on from there. So Injustice for All will always have a soft spot in my heart because, well, that's when I graduated high school. And I remember waiting for it because, you know, Master of Puppets came out in 1986, you know. And it was a couple of years, well, 2 years then. And then Injustice for All came out. Unfortunately, Cliff Burton died. And they got Jason Newsted to replace him. And everyone was sort of like wondering, well, what's it going to be like without Cliff? But, well, why? Let's be honest. Let's lay it out in the room, Patrick.
Right.
Why can't you hear the bass on Injustice for All?
Well, I think they said they just, you know, they took it out. They didn't want to hear any bass, you know, without Cliff there. You know, they're still holding those emotions. And it'd be nice to hear some bass in there.
Yeah.
That's for sure. But, I mean, Jason's a great bass player in his own right, but is he Cliff? Not necessarily. I'd love to hear it with what Cliff put on there. I'd love to hear it with what Jason put on there.
Well, wasn't To Live Is To Die, isn't that a Cliff Burton song?
It's a tribute to him. There's some lyrics on there at the end that they found, and
so he
in the bust when they.
Oh, those riffs aren't his.
Not that I know.
Dun, dun, dun. That's not.
Not that I know.
Oh, I thought he wrote that.
It's just the words.
Oh, it's the words.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
So it's an incredible album, though. I mean, I share the same thing as you do. That was. I mean, my friends and I were listening to Prince and Run DMC and Michael Jackson and breakdancing. And I remember going over to a friend's house that was older, maybe 3 or 4 years older, and hearing the da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. I was like, what the hell is that?
Was this your introduction to
metal?
Was it really?
Introduction to metal.
And was
hearing that in the garage.
And was that your introduction to Metallica?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
So hearing that and just going, whoa, what the hell is that?
Interesting.
And just hearing that for the first time going, I'm with that. Whatever that is, I got to know what that is. And my buddy going, that's Metallica. And hearing the song one over and over and over and over again, and when it's on a tape, you know, just hearing that first side of Injustice for All. And then I remember it was August 89. I didn't even hear it when it came out in 88.
Oh, okay.
So, and then hearing that and just religiously listening to that, not even the backside. The front side.
You never even got the second
Never even got the back side. And then he goes, hey, they're coming out here next month. Irvine Meadows, Southern California, playing 3 shows.
Wow.
And I remember I think the first 2 were sold out. He's like, I got tickets for the 3rd show. You know, you want to go? And I was like, well, I've never been to a concert before. I'm, 12 years old.
Wow.
And going there and being exposed to drinking and pot and smelling it for the first time, and then like you seeing that guy right in the middle of the stage coming out with the white bone guitar, and seeing that beast, Mr. James Hetfield, and still to this day, every time I go to a show, seeing the same thing, it gives me goosebumps thinking about it. Right
so it's interesting. So like pretty much like you. In one stroke, you discovered metal, you discovered Metallica. In like less than a year, you're going to see them live.
Correct.
That's
less than a month.
Less than a month.
Right.
My situation is like completely opposite because like I've been into Metallica like I got into them when Ride the Lightning came out.
I wish I did. Oh man.
So that was 1984-ish, I think, or something like that.
Okay.
So I remember like, Ride the Lightning was awesome. I love that. And then I remember going back and buying Kill 'Em All, and I had those albums, and then Master came out in 1986, and that's my favorite Metallica album. And like Metallica was my favorite band back in the 80s. I just thought they were so cool. They're all wearing those like Misfits shirts. They're showing pictures of them like skateboarding, and
that don't give a fuck attitude.
Yeah.
The rebel, play louder, play heavier.
Yeah. And I remember it was a really big deal for me to see them. Because, like, here's a band that I've been into. And, like, the concept of going to a concert and, like, oh, my God, there's your idols right in front of you. It was very, very... I don't want to say it's a religious experience, but that's the only thing I can come up with. The interesting thing about the Injustice for All album is the production.
Yeah.
And there's this thing on YouTube. I'm sure you've seen it. We've talked about this where, like, what if, like, Hardwired to Self-Destruct came out?
Right.
So people are like, what would this sound like if it was on Kill 'Em All?
Yeah, I love those.
What was it
things.
like
Yeah.
if it was on Master of Puppets? What would it be like if it was on Injustice for All?
Right.
And what I admire about Metallica is that every one of their albums sounds different. Well, maybe Load and Reload. Were they recorded in the same sessions? You know?
No, I think they came up with it all pretty close together, but they kind of cut it in half because there's a load of crap, there's a load of songs.
But
I think that's how Lars would describe it, as a load.
But
those
of
crap,
are like those two are like the closest where they kind of have the same sound. But like every album, Death Magnetic has its own sound. Saint Anger definitely has its own sound.
Kind of like a Justice, where they
And
kind of played with the sound a little, got a little more progressive, played with the drum sound or the bass sound, and
well, I remember like the drums were like really, really clicky. It was a really dry recording. Very little bass, but those guitars are just cut right through.
Yeah. When you look at the video of One and you see just kind of the somber, kind of gruffy, it's kind of their emotions of losing their bass player. It's just kind of we're here, we're doing it, we're loud and proud, but we're emotional. You know?
I remember.
It's just kind of we're doing it, you know.
I remember that video was a big deal because up until that point, Metallica was all about, we're not going to do videos, we're not doing videos. And they didn't.
Right.
But when they finally did, wow. Because they were taking scenes from Johnny Got His Gun, the movie.
Right.
Where the guy literally loses everything. His arms, legs, sight, hearing, and everything like that. And they interconnect it with Metallica. It's like black and white. They're like playing in like an abandoned factory or something like that.
Right.
That's where Metallica plays, right? Just in some
Right.
And that was a big deal. That was a big deal for like metalheads.
Right.
And because I remember in the 80s with MTV, hard rock was king.
Glam, heavy metal glam,
which was cool. Because at least you had bands like Poison and Motley Crue and Cinderella, and it was cool that you had rock bands playing and they were popular.
Warrant,
but Metallica was like the first metal band to be on MTV, and that was a big. What's your favorite album? What is your favorite song on Injustice for All?
That's a tough one. Me, I like the faster stuff. So I go right to a Dyer's Eve.
Yep.
I go to the kind of the bookends there, the Black and the Dyer's Eve, but I also like a shortest straw in the middle.
Yeah.
But Dyer's Eve for me is, that is a fast, emotional, awesome power chords in the middle.
Yeah.
Song. I really that's probably my favorite song on the album.
Yeah, in everything you just said, I agree. My favorite song is Dyer's Eve.
And a hard song to play on guitar.
Yeah, tell me about it. Then Blackened, then Shortest Straw.
Yeah.
I've always had a soft spot for Freight Ends of Sanity.
Yeah, it's one of those ones it's a weird song. It's all matched together, and it's one that they rarely play live. They played a couple years ago live, and it's a cool one to listen to every once in a while, but you're just it's kind of leftover remains of other songs. I think it's cool.
And it has a chant. Oh, wait.
Yeah.
No, I remember when I saw them play, like the crowd was doing that.
Right.
The whole crowd was like just like in between songs. Oh, way, oh, oh.
Yeah, they do that.
And then I think they actually came out and played like the first part of it.
Yeah.
And then they like went into something else. But 1988, 1989 will always be tied with me for being like, that's when I graduated high school, which was going to start the next chapter of my life. And Metallica was right there with me.
Yeah. And it's that concert being there is what really started the rest of it for me up until today.
Yeah.
Is listening to those other songs and then hearing another song, hearing Master of Puppets and going, wow.
Yeah.
That song's unbelievably different than the ones that are on And Justice for All, and I have to go buy that immediately.
Yeah.
And then hearing, I believe what they opened up with, a Creeping Death, and going, whoa, my God. You know, and then really hearing everything to this day, hearing it religiously every single day, listening to stuff, because it still, for me, is fresh.
Yeah.
You know, it's thrash metal. It's fresh even to the stuff they're doing today.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And Justice was the room to fly right in there and start the whole thing.
Yeah.
It's perfect start.
Yeah.
Cool.
No, keep talking while you did. No, I'm just kidding. Hey gang, this is Ray, and I just want to say thank you very much for checking out my video. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you want to see more videos, please click on the subscribe button. And if you like what you see, please give it a like. That would mean a lot to me. And if you're wondering why I'm wearing Hawaiian shirts, well, when I'm not talking about records, I'm talking about my other love, Tiki. I have a show called Tiki with Ray. If you want to check that show out, just search Tiki with Ray on YouTube. It'll come up.